Father, we begin?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Friends, good evening. Welcome to this evening session, Loyola Jesuit Webinar 13. And so I invite you, we pause for a moment or two, quieten our minds and heart, and invoke the name of God in His presence as we begin this session. Thank you. This evening we have a very intriguing, mysterious, philosophical, existential, all the more what is reality today, a suicide, a solution. Our own famous expertise, Father Francis P. Xavier, is our resource person this evening. And so, suicide itself invokes, triggers number of questions. Some of us must have contemplated, premeditated. But this particular resource, a talk, the evening session webinar, would actually help us that we may in turn help people who are in need. And so remember this famous quote, when we recognize that someone is having suicidal thoughts and we reach out, we are instantly planting a seed of hope that they are not invisible and they are not alone. With this thought, I invite Father Francis P. Xavier, who is the first person to begin, and over to him. Welcome, Father.
Thank you, Father Justin. Good evening to you all. Thank you for your presence and for your participation. A couple of months ago, I gave a webinar on time management. A little bit of it was on stress management. After the talk, many requested me whether I can address stress management in the context of this pandemic. Then I gave a few weeks ago stress management in the background of corona pandemic. After the talk, some requested whether I can address the suicide. And the result is today I would like to share with you about what is suicide, whether there is a solution. There has to be a solution. If suicide is a problem, there should be a solution. So today evening, I would like to share with you my thoughts on that. So we would be talking about what happens out there and within the person. What are the reasons? What could be done? Whether there is a solution and how we could have a new start. So today we see the suicide seems to be a modern disease. And it is threatening to become a contagious or a pandemic. Why we say that? Just look at the recent events. On the eve of NEET exams on the 12th September, 3 students committed suicide for fear of failure. And one student who spent nearly a year preparing for this NEET exam thought she would not make it, wrote a letter apologizing, and also kept audio record. What she implied was, maybe I may not be able to measure up to your expectation. This is the letter addressed to the parents. Sometimes the expectation of the parents also might be a big burden or stress. Sometimes people take it very lightly. You might have read in the papers, someone wanted to send a selfie of how he's pretending to be hanging. So put the news, took a selfie, sent it home, and he was tempted to make more selfies. And in the process, he happened to kick off the chair and he died of hanging. And sometimes you might have read among the siblings, just because one was not allowed to share the mobile phone, she committed suicide. Another boy, because the father was not happy that he was spending a lot of time on the TV, committed suicide. Just 2 days ago, the BBC News indicated that just last month alone, young girls to the number 1,800 committed suicide in Japan. And it also added that this year, the suicide rate in Japan was 4 times more compared to the previous year. And according to the 2019 statistics by the World Health Organization, for every 100,000 people, that is for every 1 lakh people, 10.6, that is nearly 11 people are committing suicide. And the rate in India is more. It is 16.3 for every 1 lakh people in India. Among them, some of them are doctors. And among the population of the doctors seems to be more percentage compared to the general population because they are also under stress. In 2019, according to one statistics, 10,281 farmers have committed suicide. The actual number may be more. And in the same year, that is last year, 32,559 committed suicide who are daily wages. And you also see even priests and religious also committing suicide. What is happening there, we are wondering. If you want to have more information, in the world, 8,800,000 people are committing suicide per year. That comes to every 40 seconds, one in the world is committing suicide. And India seems to be ranking on the top, according to PTI December 2018 survey. If you go by the ratio, out of 100,000, the males are 18.5 and women are 14.5. But in India, the female seem to be more. Sometimes the women suicides will be, if in India, double of global rate. And there is 40% increase in suicides between 1990 and 2016. It's very alarming. In India, in 2019, 381 suicides are happening per day in India, and 1/3 among them are youth between the age 15 to 29. Tamil Nadu, among the states in India, ranks 4 with 22.8 per 100,000 people. The Indian contribution to the world suicide is 10%. That means if 10 people are there, one would be an Indian who is committing suicide. And there seems to be suicidal tendency among the youth. A survey conducted in 2017 says the following. Among the high school students, 32% feel sad and hopeless. 17% have seriously considered attempting suicide, and 14% actually tried, made a plan, and 7% tried to kill themselves. The peer suicide seems to be contagious. If a friend commits suicide, it has got an impact, a negative impact on the people. Among the doctors, 30% seem to be suffering from depression, and 80% feel burnt out. And you would have noticed it, especially during the corona pandemic. They have been selflessly serving the people. Naturally, they are under depression and they feel burnt out. There is also other side of the suicide. It is called assisted suicide. For example, in Switzerland, suicide is legal. There are companies like Exit or Dignitas where you go there for counseling, you can fix a date, and then they will be assisted suicide. And in many countries, euthanasia is allowed. Suppose you are suffering from terminal, incurable disease, you may be allowed to do that. For example, Benelux, Belgium, Netherlands, Luxembourg, Canada, and so many other countries, which normally is related to health. Sometimes people become temporarily insane and they also commit suicide. So it is a very complex matter. Now, this is what is happening outside. Now, let us look into the person. What happens in the person himself or herself? The COVID-19 has got pandemic havoc. There has been psychological and social impact, adverse impact. 88% people suffered out of anxiety because 76% people lost their jobs. 74% were in stress, and 73% they felt isolation and loneliness, especially because of the prolonged lockdown. They're not able to go out. And the social media also played a role because there is no direct contact with the people. According to the therapists who are dealing with people, about 30% people have suicidal tendency. That means 1 in 3 at some point or other would have had either minor or major suicidal tendency. Then 62% this tendency comes out of fatigue. I will give you examples of that. Most of the time it is affecting one's health and happiness. Sometimes it is the religious and cultural elements also will come in there. What are the causes leading to suicide? It could be personal, social, financial, poor health. Sometimes you experience a disaster on a personal level or natural calamities where you have lost everything, you lost meaning, you don't know why you live, and also abuses, whether physical, sexual, verbal, emotional, either in your workplace or in your study place, whatever it is. And it is also drugs related. In the US last year alone, 70,980 have died of overdose, mainly due to opioid. In some states, opium is allowed and there is nobody to monitor and it is overdose. And some deaths are alcohol dependence. Mainly, it is a sense of isolation. And very few people have got psychiatric illness also. Many have difficulty with the relationship, either one-on-one relationship or in general relationship in the workplace, or some do have family history. It's a question they're discussing whether anything to do with the gene. And also to continue with that, some people experience unbearable emotional and physical pain. Very traumatic stress and unemployment. Very often they experience private or public humiliation, especially in the workplaces. Either you can shout at them or mention the caste name or unnecessary remarks, so many things. According to Thorat committee report that was presented in 2007, there was discrimination even in All India Institute of Management, one of the elite institutions. And there 85% of Adivasis and Dalits are discriminated. This is one of the top ranking institutions. And you might have seen what happens in the medical school from this Tamil film, Pariyerum Perumal. So the suicide is a cumulative outcome of all these things, personal, family, social, and even natural calamities. So many things are coming in and one suffers from that. And also, the suicidal tendency has got reasons. Normally, it is the stress. Sometimes you lose someone very close to you. You don't know how you can get along in life, maybe a married partner or a parent, or sometimes you're a very close friend. And the social and family or even peer pressure. The peer pressure is becoming more and more. Public humiliation suffered in school or college. How you punish the students in front of others, what remarks you make, it helps. It aggravates the situation. And sometimes the hopelessness or even the fear of failure. As I mentioned in the beginning, the students, they thought they would fail the NEET exam. They did not even take the exam, the fear of failure. They say during the coronavirus pandemic, more people died due to the fear of the infection more than the people actually infected, that the fear is really doing a havoc. And sometimes severe chronic pain also would cause the problem. These people, when they feel isolation, they get discouraged because no one is there to keep company with them or to say, I'm here, don't worry. This lack of accompaniment, or sometimes feeling that I have not done anything, I have not accomplished anything. What is the use of my living in this world? What is the meaning for me, for others? These type of thoughts are people are ruminating over that, and that it becomes low self-esteem, which becomes self-confidence and say, I am a burden to these people and to the earth. And sometimes too high expectations, either you set for yourself or the parents set for yourself, or the expectation is too high and you are not able to meet the expectation, you are not able to measure up to the expectation, then you give up. Sometimes guilt feelings, you think you have cheated others, or something you see you have gone against the religious or cultural practices, or sometimes you want to take revenge on somebody else. You want the fellow feel for the rest of the life something what he or she done to you, simply take revenge. And also sometimes you feel unable to face the situation. How to face the situation? The best thing is get out of the situation. Sometimes you have very constricted view, tunnel vision. You don't know what is happening outside. You don't know how other people who are less fortunate are there, people who are there suffering more than you, how they are managing. You have very, very limited view. You don't have a world view. And also, ultimately, you come to a point where you don't find any meaning in life and you say, let me quit. And there are symptoms. It is nothing secret. And the researchers say 80% of the people who commit suicide, they give some indication before committing suicide. Maybe some people on the spur of the moment they decide, but about 80%. Either it could be clinical depression, a feeling of hopelessness, helplessness, worthlessness, which often they will mention it during the conversation, and you can also note from their way they do it. Suddenly they will withdraw from friends and family members. People who are very cordial, who are very talkative, suddenly they become withdrawal. They close themselves somewhere, they don't talk to people. Or sometimes they don't go for socializing, they break all the social relationship, no replying, no checking email, no calling over the phone. Something happens, then you see something is happening. Some people are sad and the loss of hope is there. And whenever there is sudden change from usual behavior, that is something is cooking there. This rapid mood change is an indication for others to see whether everything is all right. Occasionally, it is the drugs or even alcohol. These people, due to these symptoms, they become extremely anxious, they become agitated, and suddenly they become withdrawal, or they feel suddenly there is calmness about them. Even people who are very jovial, who are very hilarious, all of a sudden they become moody. And so it is time for you to look into what is happening to them. Suddenly they lose all their interest in daily activities. There is eating or sleeping disorder. Either they sleep too little or too long. And then eating disorder also is an indication something is not all right. And naturally, the decline in academic performance. The performance is coming down. That means they're not interested in studies, which means they're not interested in living also. Decline in self-care, the way they dress, they groom, kind of I don't care attitude, and that you have to check that. And loss of interest in routine activities. Some people are very punctilious and punctual for work. Very often they become careless, and you have to look into what is happening there. If the person behaves other than the normal way, you have to look into that. Very often there is negative self-esteem and their worldview becomes negative. Sometimes they will say, what is the use? What is happening in the world? What am I going to do in the world? How many are going to miss me? How many are going to attend my funeral? This type of things which shows that I am worth nothing in this world. So they often mention about the death, suicide, even jovially or even slip of tongue. They may mention in conversation or writing. Take it seriously. It is not a joke. It might be something deep within there. And also some people would have previous suicidal tendency. And once they have tendency, then it lingers on, then you have to do that. Very often they give away things that they cherish to very precious. And then they say, I am going to write the will where when they're too young, or they become restless or hyperactive. There are so many things. The simple rule of the thumb is when something is abnormal in their behavior, in their way of going about, something might be not all right. So you need to look into what is happening there. Sometimes it go to the extreme situation. At that time, you know where the emergency assistance is needed. There is telephone counseling. It's available. Individuals can call. There are so many counselors. You might have noticed during the pandemic time from Loyola College, staff members and volunteers, 60 of them have been sitting for weeks together in the corporation addressing the people. And the suicidal state also, there is emergency ward in the hospitals. Best thing is keep in touch. When someone tells you, I am not going to live, I am thinking of committing suicide, keep talking. The first thing is the communication. Keep the bridge open. At the same time, find out how you can help. You can call a counselor, or you can call emergency, or you can bring someone else. The first thing is sympathize with the person, express your empathy, and sometimes even confrontation. When someone says, what is the use of my living in the world? I am going to die. He said, okay, so what happens? Is the world going to be something different? Why you can't face it? What's the problem? Can I solve the problem, or can I share your anxiety? This type of assurance is the first step for the people to realize there is someone there to take care of me. So listen to the person without judgment, without prejudice. Listening is therapeutic. You are not going to argue. You are not going to defend somebody else. Just listen. Very often after maybe half an hour, 1 hour talking, people feel much better. And now we go to this anatomy of suicide. What are the various sections or levels of the suicide when people are trying to commit? The components of the suicide could be psychological or social. For example, someone feels unable to fulfill the commitment. It's a lot of work I am not able to do, or the rigidity of a system, unrealistic expectation. If somebody gets 95, then said, where did you lose that 5 marks? Instead of appreciating, very good. Then next time you can do much better. Or someone is not able to face failure. This is very important, especially children. They think they should not fail in anything. I'll come back to that, how the parents can deal with that. Very often there is zero tolerance. Perfectionist. Everything should be perfect. In all the papers, you should get 100 marks and you should be first, whatever you do, whether you play, whether you sing, whether you act, you should be the best. It is not possible all the time. And low emotional and social quotients. You don't appreciate the others. You don't open your eyes to the others. Very often feeling shame, especially in the love relationships. You think the whole world is gone shattering and there is no meaning in that. Wait a bit and talk, and there may be some other possibilities are there. And also don't feel isolated. This feeling of isolation, especially when you feel that you are neglected in the world, then you think there is no meaning for you to live, and that is the end of it. There is also external pressure, very often from the parents and also from parents. Also, for example, parents would say you have to study abroad. Only if you do IAS, you are considered great. You have to become either a doctor or engineer, otherwise people don't respect. There are so many others. Equivalent to IAS, there are another at least a dozen government jobs which are as good as others. IPS, forest service, foreign service, civil service, any number of things are there. And only you think that going abroad is going to make you great. There are so many people who are educated here who are also great. So it depends on how you think of yourself and the external parameters, how you are going to swim through. And also, you try to find a solution. NEET, I'm not going to make it, then I'll go. Is NEET is the only solution for you? There are other opportunities for you to go and prove yourselves there. So some people think this is the escape from the problem. It is, I'm not able to face dishonor because I am living in an intolerable situation. The best thing is, let me disappear from the picture. You flee from the conscious experience before you try to understand what exactly you are doing, what are the possibilities, how you can survive, how many others have survived. You simply close your eyes like the horse that is going on the road, simply go jump into your hasty decisions. So for some, this suicide becomes honorable exit. Die before dishonor happens. Or they get disillusioned with the present reality. The reality is not what you know. The reality is much more than that. You have lost hope in self and others, but others have not lost hope in you. These people have to tell the people. Very often lack of trust in God. You think God also left you? So very often these people cry for help, but they feel no one is there to listen to their cry. Very often the suicide becomes contagious. Sometimes when the media gives wide coverage and the children or the youngsters feel very much confused and they think what you see, the only solution is the suicide. And you have the impression that life is so simple. It is not simple or trivial. A lot of things to do in life. So suicide is only a one ray of disturbance for you. There are so many other things for one. Sometimes the way we live also would create problem. You might have read a book, Human Zoo, written some time ago. The author depicts where we are living. It is called concrete jungle. Multiple stories, skyscrapers. It is concrete jungle. He compares our life in the cities practically like a life in a zoo. You don't know who is your neighbor. You are in a little apartment. You don't know how many people are there. And he says that houses are climate-controlled tombs we are put inside. And we don't have healthy or social relationship with the neighbors. You may not know who is the neighbor, whether they're there or they have gone out, you don't know. And you have very limited area of physical space. So what I feel, you feel isolated even in a big city. The city, there may be millions may be living, but you are living in isolation because you don't have contact with others. That is why you are getting into a tolerance level which is near zero. So the outcome is sometimes you become aggressive, sometimes you become violent because you are not able to express your feeling lonely or you are feeling neglected. So this is another way of expressing. Very often people show it in self-mutilation. They cut it with a blade or they fall, they dash against something. These are all some of the reactions they do. Now these are the problems we have. Do we have solutions? If something is a problem, there should be a solution. Otherwise, that is not a problem. So the solutions are based on no one is an island. We are not alone. So people who have the tendency should have this assurance, you are not alone. There are so many people. It starts with the parents. Parents have to accompany the people. Parents have to share with the children how they struggled and how they came out of it. People should know the historical struggle the parents underwent. When they share their struggle, it is not to impress people to say, I had it, I went through this. So nothing new for you. I am here to help you. At the same time, the parents also should say how they got out of the struggle, what are their success stories. There are most of the parents, they struggle in the life and they do the best for their children, and these they should share with the children so that when you have a problem, think of our problem days. We struggled, sometimes worse than you, but we came up, you can go higher. So they become the role models for the children how to handle frustrations and even failures. They have to become proactive, then reactive in handling emotions. They should give playroom for the children to express their desires. Listen to them. Get into their shoes to understand their world. Don't look at their words and their actions from your perspectives, which may not meet. You may be going on parallel lines. You have to get into their shoes. Respect their own life dream. Discuss. Allow them to ventilate their frustrations. Allow them to express what is their dream, what is their desires, what they want. You can have a discussion with them. Instead, I decide for you, do this. I have met so many children when I was the director of the engineering college. The parents decide what the child should do. Once a girl came, she wanted to do computer science, but the father wanted triple E, the mother wanted electronics communication. How do I decide? So I simply said, if the girl wants computer science, I will give computer science. I will go with the girl. And she did very well. Fortunately, the parents understood that. I love them. You can sit and discuss, but listen first. There should be common discussion on family issues. Children can take part. And there should be more acceptance and appreciation and less of criticism. Children don't need more critics. They need people to appreciate. If you become very critical of the children, they think, I'm a useless child. I am no good. So that attitude comes. Instead of that, no, you can do better. You get 50% of the mark. I said, you can do better. It's good. 50 is good. But I'm sure you can get 60. When he gets 60, you can get 60. Next time, I am absolutely sure you will get 70. So this is the way. Instead of that, you know how much I have studied, how much your father has studied, and why you are not studying. The child will say, my time is not your time. So children need more appreciation. You become critic, the child is not going to grow. They need more of love, appreciation, accommodate to them. And also the facilitate their inner resources of children. If the child has got interest and talent for a particular way of studies, encourage that. Ultimately, it is not the position, the degree, or the power you are going to have, or the amount of money. Ultimately, it is the happiness. Is the child going to be happy? That is what matters. So instead of pointing out the way, walk the way with the children. Spend quality time with the children. How much time you spend? I have seen many people who the parents are very busy, either business people or highly placed in political administration. They don't have time with the children, and the children, they go out of control. At least 10 minutes, have a rundown of the day. Some children have the habit, as soon as they go home, they sit with the mother, they're like a parrot, they will say what happened from morning till evening, and they feel happy, and they appreciate, they give directions. Just 10 minutes, spend the time. The parent should be more a friend, and then a teacher, and then a parent. Share your feelings. Follow their non-verbal clues. Sometimes people say, and sometimes they may not. 2 days ago, somebody sent me a video of a small child. I understand the child is not willing to go to school. The mother is saying, what do you want? He said, get me a couple of goats or cows. I will be happy to graze them. He said, why? You know, my elder sister is having online class, and in the computer, everything comes wrong. I don't want to struggle there. This is a child's way of looking at it. And then the mother talks to the child, no, that is not the way, this and that. So follow their verbal clues. Be aware of children watching the internet. You know, there's a lot of games which are banned in the countries. Find out what they are doing. Discuss with them. Instead of simply saying, no, you are not watching it, tell them what is the problem with that, what it is going. For example, Superman is not super all the time. Batman is got his own limitations. So it is you who have to tell them, film is one thing, real life is another thing. So discuss the reality and the fiction. Also, whenever they show any sign of depression or sadness, address immediately. It is very important. Especially when the teens are not talking, find out why they are not talking. Maybe their suicidal ideation is taking place, or they are friendly with someone you don't want to know that one. You can talk. That is the cordial relationship where a child can share with the parents as a friend to friend will be ideal situation. So sometimes people say, I want to die, no one loves me, and everyone will be better off without me. Such things, they are not using it simply to frighten you. Maybe sometimes there is something in it. Sometimes they may try to test you, but take it seriously. Spend time with the children. Very important, how much time, quality time you spend with the children. The parental accompaniment, apart from sharing their formal life, it should be prophetic. How you are going to have the life journey. Sometimes the children may need professional help. Nothing wrong in going to the psychiatrist or psychopharmacologist or counselor. Nothing wrong in that. Address when there is problem. Understand the child's dream or talents. Instead of imposing your dream for them, there should be synchronization of their wish, their dream with your dream for others. At any time, do not allow the children to isolate themselves from family and friends. Make sure they got good friends, and sometimes friends would be very eager to listen and help. And encourage creative hobbies. Physical exercise is another way where children can be happy and healthy. Promote social concern. Promote the concept of how they should serve others during the weekends, during the holidays. Show them how so many people are there without food or without shelter, without parents, without good health, and how much we are better off. So the children should know, they should be able to know their blessings, and then they would be able to appreciate what they have. Also, don't demand too much of the children. You know their limitations. You may challenge, you may help, you can show the way, but don't make them get depressed. For example, when the exam comes or when the competition comes, understand what is their ability instead of expecting dramatic or immediate results. Instead of putting pressure on them, put your confidence in them. They should know my parents have confidence in me. Instead of feeling, no, if I don't do it, my parents won't be happy. Allow them to accept failures. You know, if you read the book by Abdul Kalam, The Wings of Fire, his first rocket was a total failure. When he felt bad, the program director told him, learn what went wrong. So he studied the failure. He writes, one can learn more from failure than from success. So accept the failure. There is no one 100% successful person. Many people, most of the time, they experience failures. At some point, the success crops in. And also, the home is the best school. Natural atmosphere, organic food. Today, people are finding out more and more because our foods are chemical, they don't have the resistance power. The whole point in the pandemic situation is what ultimately matters is your immunity system, not the tablets or medication. So indigenous medicinal system is something that we have to go in for. Let us live with the nature. Very often it is good to go to the village or parks. Once you go to the village, you understand how people are so spontaneous, fresh air. People move with one another. The whole world is there for them. The natural setting. It is very important to spend time there. And also try to have cordial relationship with the neighbor so that you feel that you are not alone in this world. People should be around, friends around your home or in the school. And what is important is how do you bring up the children even amidst failures? There may be 9 failures, the 10th may be a success. You may fall down 8 times. What is important is 9th time you are able to get up. When the toddlers try to walk, when they fall down, you don't get perturbed because you know that is part of life. You encourage the child to get up and walk. So all of us have to learn from failure, as Abdul Kalam learned from his first rocket failure. And also, life values are very important. Are we giving importance to only prestige, or money, or happiness and cordial relationship? Very often you see prestige is very important. Honor killing, for example, prestige is very important instead of the happiness of the people. What you gain at the end of the day? Nothing. Only the guilt feeling for lifelong. So put optimism and confidence in the children and they will be very happy. They'll be grateful to you. And give them role models. They should have role model. If someone is there who have lived ahead, we can live according to that. For example, Einstein, his PhD thesis was rejected at least 4 times. And, relativity theory changed the face of the world, but he was not given Nobel Prize for that. There is another politics there, but he was not disappointed. And in 1905, in a span of 6 months, He wrote 5 papers. All 5 papers are changed the face of the world. Relativity theory, the mass energy equivalence, the photoelectric effect. So many, these 5 papers in 6 months, 5 papers. And if you read the paper, he has not quoted much from others' research, his own keen observation and intuition, especially relativity theory. Practically, there is no footnote or any reference from others. His own observation, and moreover, all these papers he wrote not as a PhD scholar, as professor, when he was a clerk in a patent office, as a polytechnic graduate. J.K. Rowling, all these novels written by her, from depression, she became bestseller. Stephen Hawking is an authority on Big Bang, especially from Big Bang to black hole, but his whole physical system was not functioning except his brain, which was very clear. Or take India, Ratan Tata, from bankruptcy, he brought his business as a business model. Or actor Sudhakar, he came to Chennai as a painter looking for a job. And he's not only became an actor, he is helping hundreds of students to study. There are so many role models, not only on the international level, national level, in your own family, there may be role models. Look up for them and do that. And you should create fortress for the individuals. Self-confidence is very important. Accepting oneself as one is. Others may be good. One may be good in singing. I may not be good in singing. I may be good in painting. But what is important is, am I happy with what I have, with what I am? In the education, it's academic. Also, you can pick up some skills. The children's talents and wishes have to be respected. You don't force unnecessary things which they don't want. What they need is resilience and tolerance. Resilience to survive any difficulties or crisis. Tolerance to see others when they're different. They need a sustained energy. You need a spider's web, one of the miracles you can see, and it makes the spider's web, very beautifully, artistically done in 8 hours. And the bird's nest, the multi-story bird's nest they build, they take 18 days. They go by stage by stage. The first nest takes 8 days, and they make about 1,200 trips back and forth, bringing this small straw or anything to build the nest. So they have the sustained energy. They don't get fed up and go. And you need friends, whether virtual or real friends, but genuine friends. And they should be able to face challenges. Here is the role of the parents. And important thing is, one should be able to take responsibility for oneself. Don't blame others. When something goes wrong, no, he did that one. If I am responsible, I take responsibility. I can learn more. What is important is, I am unique. I am created for a singular mission in this world. Only I can do that in the world. I'm like a small puzzle piece in a big picture. Only that puzzle will fix in one place. So I have a unique work I should do. There is no point in my quitting earlier and getting out of the world. I should not compare myself with others because each one is unique. So the need of the hour is, especially in the school, teaching. Most of the time we are doing coaching because we are aiming at the exam. I always tell our staff members, I'm not terribly enthusiastic about the grades. I am particular about formation that one gets. 10 years from now, if somebody comes and says the formation you give helps me, I'll be happy. So we are not giving information, but formation. It is not the input that matters, output. The output of an individual should be more than the input. That is what we are doing. So here we are not simply replicating others. What the teacher teaches, what the teacher derives, and then you replicate in the exam and get very high grade. What we need is creativity. What is it that I can think for myself? And what is it important is I start Failure comes, I restart. That's all. So instead of losing hope, can I put on courage? And this is what we have to put, especially when people are getting isolated, feel useless, they think they have to quit the life. And then specific to educational system, whether the exam system is relevant. When I was doing my studies in Boston, MIT, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, decided not to have first semester exams because many were committing suicide because their mark is going down. So they said, let them take time. So motivation is very important with goal setting. So also you should be aware, the children should be aware, 30% of the professionals change their original goals. They change their goals. They look for some other thing. Take Schwarzenegger. He was a bodybuilder, then became an actor, then became a governor. And take Glenn. He became astronaut, then became a senator, then he became astronaut again. So many people, they change back and forth. What is important? You should find fulfillment in your life. So always look for alternatives. If things are not going all right, look for another one. One thing is not to give up easily, but at the same time, look for what is the alternative. So there are so many prominent persons without a NEET exam. NEET exam is not the only thing that is going to take you to Mount Everest. Take, for example, Sundar Pichai. I don't think he did his NEET exam. There are so many others who are on the pinnacle of fame and efficiency, but we narrow down our things and decide that is the thing. So accompaniment, mentoring, and counseling are important. Every school, every institution should have mentors and counselors. And also they should help people cope with emotional turbulence, especially teenagers. They get easily emotional, and also they need to recharge enthusiasm. Very often they need to be reoriented. So the counseling or mentoring, each teacher could be a mentor, and they should discover and nurture the hidden talents. That way they share the responsibility of the parents without any judgmental attitude. They should accept the students as they are. Sometimes the social organization also would be coming into the picture. There is a community and social responsibility also. They could also help to prevent the people. So many NGOs are there. They can offer orientation program. They could also do counseling. What is important is one should have attitude, how you take life. One should have aptitude, the skill development, academic or otherwise. If you have altitude and aptitude, the altitude automatically comes. You can go in life. So counseling, for example, in the schools and colleges, you need counseling at the admission time. Everybody wants to do visual communication. Everybody wants to do literature. Everybody wants to have commerce. There are others. According to each one's interest and view in life, you can do that. Also, institutions should have placement cells. It plays a major role. Not only the requirement of the companies, the capacity of the individuals. So this is a must. So there should be full-time and well-trained counselors is a must in every institution. I am very particular about that. And also financial assistance to the students. Sometimes students are very bright, but they need financial aid. Institutions should be able to help them. In addition to the government financial aid, also the employment and career centers are there to help the students, to guide them. Also, the places of worship also could help. Through youth organization, the social awareness, and they can teach the management crisis. The worship places could tell them how to go from crisis to creativity. They can tell them how you put trust in God, because God can write straight and curved lines. The prayers could give you serenity and hope. They recommend yoga or prayer because it helps you serenity. It helps you to see things in proper perspectives. And also it can anchor your faith. You hold on to God's hand and God would lead you. After all these things, still there is professional treatment is there. We have to have access to that. There is counseling, psychotherapy, marital therapy. There is a lot of medical interventions there, pharmacotherapy, and even psychiatric treatment, especially for people with mood disorder, substance abuse, schizophrenia. All these things are very important. Nothing wrong in going to these people. Sometimes people think it is a stigma going to these people. Like when you have physical problem, go to the doctor. When you have a mental problem or psychological problem, emotional problem, go to the people, and this should help you very much. Now, we need to very often think of a new start, new direction, a new spirit. That is very important for us to go ahead. We need to think differently, first of all. If you have time, read this book by Eric Weiner, Geography of Bliss. He's traveled about 10 different countries and says what are the parameters of the thing. You will be surprised to see people who are happy are very poor people, and countries which are very rich are not happy. There's a lot of suicide, depression, and all those things. Utopia, you would say, is a good place, but nowhere you will find it. But you can make your place a place of happiness. The parameters of happiness is less is more. St. Ignatius of Loyola would again and again say, be happy with what you have. Happiness is not outsider's job, it is insider's job. Think of the less fortunate. Someone who has a small house would be happy when he compares, when he's looking at the people who don't have place to live. People who don't have place to live, they may be happier to see there are people who don't have anything to eat. When people don't have anything to eat, they will be happy they are healthy. There are some people, they are not healthy. So look at the less fortunate instead of looking at people who are healthy, happier, or richer, because you should live in your world, you should make your world livable. I cannot say my feet hurts when I walk, therefore I have to carpet the entire world. Take care of your feet. The world will take care of itself. I may complain that I don't have good shoes. If I see someone who have no legs, I may not complain. Look at the carbon. Carbon is one of the fundamental things. All the living beings can be reduced to two, hydrogen and carbon. So if you burn anything, what is left out, the hydrogen escapes, what remains is the carbon. So this carbon, how it is assembled, that makes the difference. Graphite is one thing that is assembled in one way, and fullerene, that is C60, is another, which is used in medical radiation therapy. Or the diamond also is carbon, but it is arranged in a way. So the carbon atom, depending on how it is assembled, it may become a diamond, it may become a charcoal, or it may become ashes. It is what we make out of our life. Our attitude makes the difference. So every day you can ask two questions. In the morning you ask, what good am I going to do today? At night ask yourself, what good have I done today? And in this one you grow in the hope and confidence to do better every day. Every day you do something good and you look for something better for the day. And you need to adjust your attitude. No one is alone, whether in suffering or in joy, because each one is unique. I am like a piece of puzzle in a big picture, only I can fit in there. For example, Thomas Alva Edison, he had about 100,000 plus patents. He worked about 1,100 experiments before he found out or discovered the bulb. So he had the choice whether to face challenges or flee from challenges. Once his whole lab got fire, and he simply stood there and enjoyed the fire, and even asked his son, please bring your mother to see this fire, this great fire she's not going to see in life. At the end of the day, he told the employees, tomorrow we start again. So he did not flee from the problem, he faced it. Because only dead fish will float along the current. If you have the courage, you can go against the current, face your challenge, encounter your fear, start again with enthusiasm. We can always learn more through mistakes. We can do better after mistakes. And after all, no one is an atlas among us who has to hold the entire world on our back. We each one has a limit, and we will do. Let us do our best and leave the rest to God, because 10% of life is what you make of it, and 90% is how you take it. The pearl, remember, is made inside the shell. Only when it is mature, you can open it and see happiness is inside us job. So the parameters are, it is relational. You build a relationship, that is your choice. And to be happy, count the blessings. And they say count the blessings one by one, so that you know how much you have been thankful to God. Find meaning and purpose every day, then you will not feel my life is worthless. Keep yourself busy. Paulo Coelho says in the fifth mountain, you can learn from the child how to be busy without doing any work. The child is busy all the time, but have something to do. Learn from nature, have some hobby, develop tolerance, build up your attitude, namely that this also will pass away. This is the famous Buddhist feeling. This also will pass by. Failure is not a stigma. It will be a stepping stone to success. Many people have failed, but they became successful. You can, after all the events, you can change the world. Remember, money is not happiness. People who have a lot of money also commit suicide. But what is important is your ability to be happy and the ability to decide to be happy. So the turning point in life is think. Replace your negative thinking by positive thinkings. Feel secure. Develop a sense of belonging. Be calm and serene. There are people who like you. Some may not like you, but you know your value. Listen always to your inner voice, the little voice, the conscience. You will never go wrong. And in action, have cordial interaction with others. Develop healthy relationship. And when you speak, say what is in your heart. Express in a positive way. You can talk out the problem to others. Don't be shy to talk to friends. That's why friends are there. Be in touch with yourself. Live in peace with others. Walk the path of God. So, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. You need energy. You need enthusiasm. You need empathy that comes from others. Therefore, build bridges with the people. Don't put walls between the people. So, is suicide going to be a solution? It is going to cause only confusion, and it is not going to take you anywhere. So in conclusion, I would like to say, we did not decide on our birth, how, when, where. Let us not decide on our death as well. Between birth and death, let us sail through the current of life. Current may be torrential, current may be smooth, but have the courage and confidence to sail through the current of life. In the life sea, some find pearls, some catch fish, some get their feet wet. That's all. Much depends on what you try for. But believe miracles do happen. You should become a miracle. With that, I want to end my sharing. Here are some of the references where you can refer it later and you can read it when the time. Thank you very much. At the bottom, I have given my website. If you are interested in reading more at some other talks, you are most welcome to do that. Thank you very much for your listening. If you can ask for clarification, I could say. I am not an expert, but I can try. Thank you very much.
Father, thank you. Thank you so much. There are some clarifications and doubts we will be able to do. This evening, we are not going to ask, but I invite you, you can post your doubts and clarifications and questions. And of course, a number of us could resonate with whatever Father is saying. This is for us to reflect. And so the question session begins. We have exactly 15 minutes to go. So we may not be able to take all the questions. Some of the questions Father will be able to respond to you in a personal way. We'll be able to also supply you the PowerPoint presentation Father is willing to share with those who request. And so we begin. The questions are already come. We have also people watching the session on YouTube. There are 60 to 70 people are on YouTube. And so the first question is from Joe Livingston. When a person has attempted suicide, how can we put him back to regular, normal life to live anew? Father was talking about new start. Father, would you like to respond?
Yeah, couple of things we have to do. First of all, we have to make the person feel that it's all right, that he did that, but that is not the end of the world and life. And he's not meant to end the life. There are others to walk with him, and then to assure him that we are there to walk with you. That is the first step. The second, depending on what the situation he is in, for example, it is study related or work related, whether you can reduce the burden. If the next third stage will be to go to a professional counselor or medical personnel who would be able to do that. So what is important is you stay with the person, giving assurance that we are there, and you can always start a new life from where you have started or you have failed to start.
Okay. Thank you, Father. I'm combining two questions, one from R.K. Chinnaparaj, number two from for Alton. The R.K. is asking basically, the tendency begins from lack of basic skills, from formation at home, from the sides of parents. Similarly, Father Alton is asking, as you actually referred, the number of priests and religious seminarians going through or committing suicide is increasing. So he's asking whether formation is needs a change, requirement, or kind of revisit. And he's asking, both of them asking your opinion, Father.
Okay. We need skills, true, but we also need willpower. Skills maybe helps you to do things, but will to sail through the things. For this, you need motivation. Why I am doing what I am doing. And that motivation, the second is, do I have confidence to do that? Can I do that? Especially in the religious thing is, even if I cannot do, there are others who can help. Nothing wrong in asking for help. One of the things in the religious superiors have to do is the care of the person and care of the work. Both are equally important. You need work to be done, sure, but the person is more important sometimes. So what is the capable, the superior, one of the major things their advice is find out what is the capacity of the individual, accordingly give the work if you want to really do your best. Sometimes, that some people bite more than they can chew. Such people, you can say, well, you may not be able to do. Can you downsize your work? Or can you have an assistant to help you? So all these things to reinforce, that's all. What happens in the military when some section is weak, you send a reinforcement to do that. And the strategy also is very important. So I would say the skills important, will has to be added, and both should be powered by motivation At the same time, look for alternate things. There are certain things which you can do. If you are not able to do, somebody else will do that. And as I said, you are not the one who are going to be the savior of the world all the time. We have our capacity, our limitations. We do our best what we have. The rest we share with others.
Okay. Thank you, Father. The next question would be from, name is not there. He's asking about suicide is kind of a momentary spark, or he calls it a kind of a imitation. And I'm also combining another question. If we come across such, it's really difficult to identify students who are actually going through. So how best can we identify? Something along the line he's asking.
Yeah, this I said that normally there are some indications of people. They either in their writing or talking, or even when they make jokes, they make you understand that they are getting fed up with life and they are not happy. They are ready to quit. But at that time, we have to jump in. People should talk. Can I help you? What is the problem with you? And slowly lead them, whether they can take to the counselor or if the institution, the counselors are there, or elderly person, the parents would be able to do that. Most of the teachers would be able to do, because they have undergone this same phase of life. That's why I said the quality time the parents spend with the people. At the same time, once the parents know that the children have got very good friends, allow them to spend time with the parents. Some parents are very strict. 4 o'clock college gets over, you got to be here at 5 o'clock. And you can allow them to spend weekends with them if the friends are good. You have a communication with the parents on the other side. So build up a relationship. What is important is that I am in bond with others. I am responsible not only to myself, but to others. So if I end my life, this is my responsibility for others. This type of feeling should be there. Leave alone the work. Sometimes the work will be tough and do, but this meaningful, lasting relationship and friendship would help us a lot.
Okay. Thank you, Father. There are a number of note or post on appreciation of the talk. Very useful, helpful, resourceful, and presentation is something that they could resonate with. One particular question from Jivita. Father, there are instances when we ignore our conscience, and how do we handle such situations? I am not sure this is a question exactly she meant.
Yeah. Conscience depends in what context you are using the conscience. Sometimes when you are asked to do something which you feel uneasy in your conscience, that may be work ethic that comes. But in the case of somebody trying to end the life, look into the conscience. Conscience always will say, doesn't approve of that. You are doing something, you feel guilty. Sometimes to silence that conscience, you are taking the drastic step. So it depends. One thing, going with the conscience in the work related or anything that you're doing. But this ending life is something that is related to your feeling, and there you check with your conscience. You do it, and then if the conscience feels uneasy and you don't feel all right, then you don't do it.
Thank you, Father. We take last two questions. So the penultimate question would be from Shiva Shankar. He's asking, priests, unlike common people, they don't have expectation like a common man. So what exactly triggers them to commit suicide? That is one.
Okay. So this is not many. That is rarely it happens. But sometimes we may be into the what you call the pressure. I have to do this, or I have been trying to do this, and I'm not able to do. Sometimes I am not recognized. I am very talented. or I am not recognized for so many reasons. There is a discrimination that is overlooking. That is all this because I put up the things. If I get this, I'll be happy. Instead of that, if you say, I don't care about whether I become this or that, I am going to do what I want. Depends on your attitude on that. So the priests are also under stress. Sometimes you are overworking and there is a lot of responsibility. Sometimes, the people come to you for so many things and you feel overwhelmed. And at that time, it's all this because it is, if only you take time or share with someone or go to another fellow religious or priest, things may be better, but it's all spur of the moment. I'm not able to handle, or sometimes you make a mistake and then before it is discovered, you want to escape from the world, and that is the thing. So it is like others, sometimes priests are also human beings.
Okay. Father, thank you. And we're going for the one last final question. Very interesting on combining two people. One for the Victor Roach. Similarly, on the same note, Dr. Adaikalasamy has asked the same question. When we actually identify someone is going through kind of relevant therapeutic talk, they're asking what would be the psychological first aid? What be immediately as first aid, first thing that we should be doing? So that is their question. And with that, yes, Father.
I would say the first thing is sit and talk with them. What exactly is going on? Try to not only what they say, what they are trying to say. That's why I mentioned the body language is very important. So people slowly, you will see, I have encountered a couple of people. One, somebody called me and said, I am having this bottle of poison I'm going to take because there is some family problem, and it was there around night 11:30. So what do I do? So I was keep on talking. What's the problem? It was some in the family problem, and I was keeping on talking. After 45 minutes or 1 hour, then slowly it was coming down. Then I said, then she said, now what do I do? I said, can you postpone your decision? Because she was very adamant, after talking to you, I'm going to drink. I said, can you postpone? Till what time? I said, till tomorrow around 10, 11, to go and have a good sleep. And tomorrow around 10 o'clock, I'm ready to talk again. We'll talk. So she said, okay. And so next day, when I called and talked, she was much better. Then I said, can you live with this? He said, sure. There is some misunderstanding in the family with some property or something like that. So first thing is to keep talking, try to postpone it. What I was planning is, if things are not going well, to recommend her to go to a psychiatrist or a counseling. That's what I was trying to do that. But next day it went off. Then after 2 days I called. He said, okay, now I can manage. So to give the confidence, so keep company, keep talking. But if it is any emergency, somebody is you're not going to stop, then look for emergency situation, whether a counselor or somebody, you take them for even hospital and do that one. So important thing is to give the assurance you are not alone. We are here for you. Don't disappoint us. That type of assurance.
Uh-huh. Thank you, Father. Very, very powerful statement. You are not alone. On that good note, that we are not alone, and individually you are not alone. And together we march, we journey together. We have very qualitative audience who are really hanging on to our lives, and it has been very resourceful evening this evening. And on your behalf, I'd like to thank the participants who've been here listening to you and then, asking questions. So each one, thank you so much for being here today, this evening. Also, I take this opportunity to thank Father Francis B. Xavier, Rector, a very resourceful, very wonderful person to relate to. And here comes, and on behalf of the participants today, I'd like to thank you, Father, for this resourceful evening. Thank you so much. Have a great evening.
I want
Yes,
to
Father.
thank
Yes,
all
Father.
of you for listening. I want to thank Father Justin for organizing this, and especially for the technical assistance. I want to thank two of our youngsters, Zenith and Thomas Alva Edison, for their help, always there with me to help. And I want to thank the Jesuit community which organizes this Jesuit webinar. This is an initiative of our scholastics during the pandemic time. So it is picking up. I want to thank them. I want to thank you. And I appreciate your listening and for your sharing. I wish you all the best. Have a nice evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Father.
Thank you.
Thank you, Father.
Thank you, Father.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, Father.